Hello, hello.
Hello. Kick us off, Amy.
All right. Welcome to another practice time episode with Amy.
And Jamie.
Today, we're continuing with our systemic family therapy practice, and we are doing exercise
6.
Thank you. We are doing exercise 6, highlighting boundaries. But before we dive into that, I realized we haven't introduced ourselves lately. So Jamie, kick us off.
I'm Jamie. I'm a family-based therapist in the Philadelphia area, and I am part of the Sentio team.
Mm-hmm. And I'm Amy. I am also in Philly. I'm also a relational therapist. Jamie and I met in grad school, so it's the coincidence of our overlaps. And I'm also part of the Sentio team.
What you got going on this weekend, Amy? Anything fun?
Yes, I am planning a trip, which feels wonderful, minus the experience of packing for me, which will take about 7 hours and will not be wonderful. But I feel, excited about that.
And wow, I'm surprised it'll take you 7 hours. I'm more of like a what's moderately clean that I can like roll up really, really tight and like put in this one backpack kind of packer. Because I'm like, I will not pay for a carry-on. I don't care how long I'm traveling for. I don't care where I'm going. I don't care how many layers I have to wear on the plane. I will bring just that one backpack. I will make it work. Well, hopefully everyone feels like they know us just so much better now as we go into highlighting boundaries. All right. So for highlighting boundaries, this is so important it's appropriate that this is systemic family therapy that we're working off of. And it's just relates very closely to the work that Amy and I do. So working in family-based, I work with some smaller subsystems of the family, like it might just be one parent, one child, but I may do family sessions that are much larger where there are multiple caregivers and multiple children and multiple family members and multiple other systems involved. So coming back to highlighting boundaries is really important in any kind of relationship, but particularly in family relationships, and in a lot of the families that I'm working with in family-based. That's something I see. What about you, Amy?
Yeah, I think also boundaries within the therapeutic relationship. So I'm curious to see like how this skill kind of handles boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some boundaries might be a little bit more firm and rigid, potentially, like say, like a therapist and a client. But relationships within family systems, boundaries often change and fluctuate. What is one way one day might look different in several weeks or months, especially as the relationship progresses through family therapy. So highlighting boundaries and discussing boundaries is really part of an ongoing therapeutic conversation.
Yes. So this skill has 2 criteria. The first one is reflect the boundary communicated in the client statement. And the second one is ask the couple or family to turn to one another and talk directly about a boundary related issue, which they call a 2-way enactment. And so for this practice today, for these statements, we'll give a little context. There's context clues given about who the clients are because it's a family system or a couple. So before I give you my statement, Jamie, I'll tell you if it's a couple or if it's a family, so you kind of understand who your clients are.
Awesome. Thank you.
So this first statement is a couple, and I'm obviously a partner in that couple. All right. So we both work over 40 hours a week, right? Well, why is it that I have to come home and take care of the house when he gets home and gets on the computer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it sounds like there's some conflict around around what each of your free time looks like after work. Could you now turn to your partner though and share this feeling with them about how it feels when just like see them hop right on their computer when they get home?
Hmm. Nice, nice, nice. Um, so I think that was a great response. Let's check criteria. So I think you met criteria one in reflecting the boundary, right? You said there's some conflict. And then I think you met criteria two perfectly in instructing me, the client, or inviting me to turn to my partner and express this boundary, express what's going on with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wasn't entirely sure what the boundary was
Hmm.
on that one and like how to articulate that, in boundary terms, for example. So
Mhm.
I was a little unsure with criteria one in that way, because I think
Mhm.
I went into this thinking of a boundary as being, I don't know, a little bit more explicitly laid out of like, I don't like when this person does this thing to me, like that feels like a personal boundary. So I guess in this, I wasn't entirely sure what the boundary was per se.
Mhm. Yeah, I know what you mean. You named conflict, but not
Right,
really naming the boundary. Um,
right.
do you want to check a sample response to see what they did?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay, so the statement is, so we both work over 40 hours a week, right? Well, why is it that I have to come home and take care of the house when he gets home and gets on the computer?
And the response is, what I'm hearing is that your roles at home are out of balance and you're feeling like the maid. It's criteria one. I'd like to see how you talk about this issue at home. Criteria two. Okay, that was very helpful. Just having that little bit of language provided for me in that first sentence.
Do you want to try another one?
Yeah, sure, let's go for
So this one, the context for this statement is a family, a parent and an adolescent son, and I'm the parent. My son's a teenager, but I still seem to have to do everything for him. I would love for him to get himself up and ready just for school, but he just won't do it.
it. So it sounds like you're feeling as though you're still having to do a lot of things for your child that they should be doing on their own. Could you turn towards them now and um, talk with them directly about what kinds of things that you'd like them to be doing on their own?
Hmm, nice. So checking criteria, I think you met criteria one, reflecting the boundary of it sounds like you are doing a lot for your son and and he should be doing it. I think my only feedback is the should. Um, I
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if there's different language you can use that feels like a suggestion or an opinion maybe the dad has. But
Mm-hmm.
overall, you met criteria one, and then again did really well with criteria two, having me turn to my hypothetical son and communicating what I want him to be doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, ready to try it again?
Yes.
Okay. My son is a teenager, but I still seem to have to do everything for him. I would love for him to get himself up, ready for school, but he just won't do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing you say is that you're currently doing a lot of things for your son that you would really like him to be doing independently on his own. Could you turn directly to him and share with him these things that you would like for to see him do independently?
Beautiful. I think that was getting rid of that should, I think really landed better because then you're reflecting in criteria one, you're reflecting the boundary from the dad's perspective, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's no kind of should, what the son should
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you really met criteria one. And then again, criteria two got me to do an enactment.
Mm-hmm. That was really helpful feedback.
Mm.
because it made it like less objective about shoulds and shouldn'ts, and made it way more subjective and way more personal in addressing the client's boundaries. So that was very helpful feedback, very thorough. I now know why it takes you 7 hours to pack one backpack.
See, there are some upsides.
All right, I am ready for one more. I got one more in me.
Okay, so this context is a couple, and I'm a partner in the couple. I don't feel like I can share my feelings. She gets really uncomfortable anytime I tell her what I need emotionally. When I tell her and later get angry, she acts like she thinks I'm crazy.
So what I'm hearing is that you really don't feel comfortable sharing your feelings with your partner. Could you turn to them and share with them how that feels for you when you try to bring something to them, try to bring a feeling to them, and maybe they don't respond, or what those conversations look like?
Nice. So I really liked that response. I think you really met criteria 1 in naming the boundary of you don't feel comfortable sharing with your partner. You met criteria 2, asking me to turn. I think you could tighten up criteria 2 a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
Okay.
All right, we can go right into it.
I don't feel like I can share my feelings. She gets really uncomfortable anytime I tell her what I need emotionally. When I tell her and later get angry, she acts like she thinks I'm crazy.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is you really don't feel comfortable sharing your feelings with your partner. And can you turn to them and show me what those conversations look like that you have together, where you bring up this feeling in an angry way and they respond like you're crazy?
Nice. And again, I think you met both criteria of reflecting that boundary of uncomfortable sharing your feelings. And then I think you did a really good job of being a little more concise in the second one. So tell us, how was this exercise around boundaries for you?
This was helpful. And really the standout reminder for me is just the reminder that it's okay to be direct. I think sometimes too, as therapists, we might get caught up in a certain interactional pattern, and maybe we start to be a little bit more delicate or tiptoe around a certain situation. And really, it's okay for us to be therapeutically directive. That's part of why a lot of the families are seeking our service.
Yeah, I think my takeaway, what I really appreciated about this skill is how they conceptualize boundaries, right? Like I usually think of just the boundary of like, it's a rule, here's my boundary. But in systemic family therapy, in this exercise, I appreciate how they talk about it. They describe it as boundaries regulate the physical and psychological movement of people into and out of the family system, which is a big sentence to say, like, boundaries can kind of create these rules on how the system interacts, how they communicate, how they kind of flow through that system, flow through each other. So like in your statements today, some of it was communication, some of it was tasks.
Yeah, way more expansive and fluid than this idea of like a rigid, like a rigid cut and dry, black or white, like don't do this thing, which is I think often how we think of boundaries, to your point, like a rule. That was very well said. I think that is a common misconception about boundaries.
So on that note, my boundaries, I need to leave now. I need to wrap this episode up. Good one, Amy.
Oh, so much cheese. I love it. I'm gonna, so it sounds like, Amy, you really need to leave. Could you turn directly to me and tell me that you need to leave? Okay. Yep. That's our cue to go. Thanks for checking out another practice time with Amy
and Jamie.
See you next time.